watched The Cell last night on VHS. You know the movie where J-Lo jumps into the mind of a serial killer? Like it's some twisted VR therapy session? She's swimming through the dude's brain? It's got a bunch of creepy horse statues and Vincent D'Onofrio looks like he's auditioning for a Marilyn Manson music video. I'm like, is this a horror movie or some avant-garde perfume commercial? By the end, I'm just yelling at the screen, J-Lo, you better get the fuck out of there before you catch his crazy, or worse, his wardrobe. Wildest trip ever. And I didn't even need to see a therapist, or get a lobotomy. Welcome to Video Rental Chaos! Let's talk about The Cell. You know, the trippy mind-bending horror movie where J-Lo plays a psychologist who dives into the mind of a serial killer to save his victim? And let me tell you, this is not your average crime thriller. It's like Salvador Dali and A Nightmare Had a Baby. Now, this movie was directed by Tarsem Singh. The movie's visual effects are wild. Think surreal psychedelic sets and costumes that make you feel like you're on a fucking acid trip, man. It's a sensory fucking overload. And honestly, it fucking works. Plus, the killer's mind is a place so messed up, you'll be wondering if you're watching a horror flick or a fucking art show. Now, I do have a fun fact for you. It took over 10 years to bring this film to life, and the CGI was groundbreaking for its time. Oh, and Vince Vaughn? Yeah, he plays a fucking serious role here. No jokes, just pure thriller. So, if you're into intense visuals and psychologic horror, The Cell is a must-watch. Just be ready for some wild dreams afterwards. Without further ado, let's go ahead and press play and watch The Cell. Catherine Dean is a child psychologist, okay? Who gets hired to use some next level VR tech that lets her dive into the minds of coma patients. Real weird shit. The whole thing is run by two doctors, Henry West and Miriam Kent, and is funded by the parents of her current patient, Edward Baines, a kid who's been in a coma thanks to a weird form of schizophrenia caused by a viral infection. Now, the problem? The kid's mind is haunted by a creepy boogeyman-like alter ego that keeps blocking the progress. Dean suggests flipping the process and bringing him into her mind instead, but the doctors aren't having it. Well, because they're a bunch of pussies and they're worried that it's too dangerous. Meanwhile, there's a sicko named Carl Rudolph Stager running around kidnapping women and locking them in a glass cage that slowly fills with water. Now, this dude's totally sick as he watches their deaths on repeat while hanging from a hoist in his basement like some twisted horror movie villain. Just as the FBI figures out who he is, he falls into a coma, which is a huge problem because his latest victim, Julia Hickson, is still alive somewhere, but no one knows where. Desperate for a lead, Agent Peter Novak finds out about Dean's VR tech and convinces her to enter Stager's mind to find out where he stashed Hickson. Once inside, Dean finds herself in a full-blown nightmare. Stager's subconscious is a messed up dream world filled with creepy doll versions of his victims. Talk about scary. She comes across young Stager, an innocent, abused version of him who starts opening up about his horrible childhood. Dean tries to win his trust to get Hickson's location, but then boom, another version of him shows up. King Stager, a demonic, all-powerful alter ego who rules this twisted world. He messes with Catherine so bad that she forgets what's real. Back in the lab, the doctors realize she's getting in way too deep, and West warns that if she stays under too long, the damage will be permanent. That's when Novak steps up. He jumps into Stager's mind himself to snap Dean out of it. What a hero. Inside, Novak immediately gets caught and tortured while Catherine's completely under King Stager's spell. Just watches like she is his brainwashed servant. Novak finally breaks through to her by bringing up her biggest trauma, her little brother, who was in a coma for 6 months before passing away after a car accident. That memory shakes her back to reality. As they make their way out, Novak notices something familiar in Stager's dream world. an insignia that matches a hoist from his basement. That clue leads the FBI straight to an abandoned property in Bakersfield, where Novak finds Hickson barely hanging on. He busts the glass open and saves her just in time. But Dean isn't done yet. She actually feels bad for young Starger and decides to break the rules. She reverses the VR feed, pulling him into her mind instead. She gives him a peaceful dream world, but he knows it won't last. He shifts into his adult self and tells her about a childhood memory where he mercy killed an injured bird to save it from its father's abuse. Then the king shows back up again one last time, but this time, Catherine is calling the shots. She absolutely wrecks him, beats him down, and impales him with a sword. The catch? Since all the personas are connected, killing the monster means killing the kid. Starger, now as his adult self, basically asks her to save him, just like he did with the bird. Catherine, looking all angelic, gently drowns young Starger in a pool, putting him out of his misery. In the real world, Starger flatlines. Afterward, Catherine and Novak meet up outside Starger's house. Now, the FBI wants nothing to do with this VR tech anymore, but Catherine actually gets approval to try the reverse feed on Edward Baines. In the final scene, inside her peaceful dream world, Bane finally takes a step towards her, signaling he might be waking up for real. Now, The Cell is a complete mindfuck. The visuals take you on a ride, and the way this movie flows genuinely unsettles me, okay? The idea of Jennifer Lopez diving into my mind to extract information, equal parts sexy and horrifying. In all seriousness though, The Cell fucking rocks. I hadn't seen it in fucking years, okay? And for some reason though, I always thought this movie came out in the 1990s, but nope, it dropped in 2000. That actually makes The Cell only the second movie from the century that we've reviewed. Vince Vaughn is killer. I don't give a fuck what anybody says, okay? Vince Vaughn is killer in this movie. And generally speaking, the entire cast is a lot of fun. This movie scared the hell out of me, okay? Those dream sequences? What the fuck? And let's talk about the scene, okay? The one that completely sold me on this movie. Jennifer Lopez in her panties, smoking weed, getting the munchies, and casually raiding the fridge. Looking damn good while doing it too. I mean, come on! I was locked in for the rest of the movie, okay? What can I say? I love a woman's body. To sum it up, this movie terrifies me. The concept of tracking down a serial killer through his dreams and ultimately having Jennifer Lopez take him out? Wild as fuck. And then she takes his fucking dog at the end? What the fuck, man? This is psychological thriller territory, okay? All the fucking way through. Highly recommended, and if you ever find yourself dreaming and Jennifer Lopez starts walking towards you, I don't know, man. Just try not to get a boner. And until then, I'll see you at the video store.
With him. My baby's got a problem with him. My baby's got a problem with him. He looks like devil, but he smells like sin. He looks like devil, but he smells like sin.